Hey there, Roisin here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the new urban sketching range of Supergranulating colours by Schmincke. So they come in a little box, very dinky, with 5 tiny tubes of 5 mils each, and they are called the urban range. So they have all these little boxes that have different names, like volcano set, they have the desert range, they have a few little ranges, but the urban range is the one with the, I'd say, the widest selection of colours. They have urban yellow, urban red, urban green, urban brown, and urban grey. And whilst they aren't colours that you or I are familiar with, like we know colours by different names, sort of standard names like burnt umber, burnt sienna, and cadmium, whatever. But these are different. They're kind of like, I think they're kind of more playful and they're more fun in that sense that, you know, they don't come with a formal name and you can just make what you will of them, which is kind of cool. So I was very lucky because I had a birthday a couple of months ago and my lovely mum, Cindy, was kind enough to buy me a box of the urban sketching range of Supergranulating colours by Schmincke, and I'm so happy because it to me is the most playful toy present that I could possibly have, and I'm very happy to have them. And I was dying to try them out. I have the tubes, I don't have half pans, so I squeezed them into a little mini palette and off I went when they were dry enough to sort of not sloosh around the place. And I decided to give them a proper turnout in a local cafe. So I did that today. I went there with my husband and my children, 2 of my kids, Paddy and Liv, who are grown, not kids at all. And we had a lovely time in Brasco Coffee Academy or something like that. I can't remember the exact name. It's in Oranmore, which is a little town quite close to where I live here in County Galway. And it was lovely. It was lovely. I sketched the clientele, I sketched the customers as I am wont to do, and I always try to keep my head down and not interfere with their coffee experience. And if I think somebody's noticed that I'm drawing or something like that, I'll just turn away and look at something else, and everybody goes about their business, and there's always something else to draw. So, you know, I've said it before, but don't worry too much about getting rumbled when you're sketching people in public, because generally, by and large, you'll be safe enough. So what about the paints? How did I get on? Well, I got to tell you, it was really unusual for me to have a set of colours that were whittled down to just 5 and didn't have any of my normal colours. No Payne's grey, no burnt umber, no yellow of any, well, I suppose I was going to say yellow of any sort, but urban yellow does count as yellow. No blue, nothing that resembled blue in any way, and no yellow greens, but of course you can make it by mixing your urban yellow and your urban green. So for me it was quite the challenge, and I've got to say that I really enjoyed it. It was great for me personally, who sketches such a vast amount, to be presented with a different range of colours to that which I'm used to, and I really rose to the challenge. I really enjoyed it. I love Supergranulating colours. I love the way they dry in all kinds of ways that you didn't expect. When you mix, say for example, urban grey and urban brown, when you put them on the paper, they look a little bit sort of, I don't know, somewhere between brown and grey. But when they dry, they look like those natural slate tiles you buy, where all the reds and the greys and the darks and the blacks, they've all settled out in different ways, and you never know what you're going to get. So for those of you who like to have your colours completely predictable, they're not for you. But if you like a little bit of freedom and a little bit of playfulness with your watercolour, I would say treat yourself. Now, they're not cheap, they are expensive. All of the colours in the Supergranulating range, they come with a hefty price. My little set, as I say, my mum was very generous, and I think it retails at €60 for the 5 little 5 mil tubes. So that's, you know, that's quite a lot before you've even opened a tube. But as they say, the only expensive paint, what is it? The only wasted paint. The only wasted paint is the paint that stays in the tube. So just remember that the only wasted paint is the paint that stays in the tube. So I have colleagues and students and friends who say that they feel bad about using expensive paint. Don't feel bad about using expensive paint. It's your treat. It's your treat. And I think these paints are just gorgeous. I love using them. I love having them. And you can judge for yourself. You can have a look at the little sketch I did today of the people in the cafe, and you can decide for yourself whether it's something you might like to give it a try or not. All right, enjoy it. So here's the little box. Pretty little thing, nice little picture on the front. So let's take off the lid and see what's inside. Ooh, here are the colours printed on the side of the box. Urban yellow, urban red, urban green, urban brown and urban grey. Little piece of foam to protect all the little dinky tubes. And just look how dinky they are. How cute are they? How cute are they? This one is urban grey. Now they're only tiny. They're only 5 mils, so they're not going to last you for an extremely long time. But sure, the point of it is to use them. So here we go, filling them in the order in which they are lined up in the pan. Sorry, in the little box. We've got urban grey on the right. We've got urban brown. Then we've got urban green, urban red and urban yellow. You know, I'm not used to using only 5 colours on an entire sketching session, so I'm interested to see what happens. What about my little box? Okay. In goes the insert. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Come on. Wiggle it about. Quick, come on. Give it a good poke. There you go. Click and in. Here I am in the cafe, looking for somewhere nice to take my seat. Out comes my little box. My little box is basically a craft tin. It's the size and shape of an Altoids tin, and I've used enamel paint on the inside of the lid for a mixing surface. So I've settled in with my daughter Liv, and I've got my first subject. This girl, she's actually one of the girls who works there, and she's on her break and she is having a little bite of lunch. I'm using a 55-degree Fude nib to quickly scribble in some of the dark areas, and I'm using brown document ink by Diatramentis. Okay, the first colour is urban brown, and I'm just using it to fill in her top. Her top is black and her trousers are black. Now, what do I use for the skin? I'm not used to only having urban yellow and urban red. So I figured I'd mix them together and see what happens. They're okay. And what do they look like mixed together? Look, they're fine. Maybe a little bit more dilute would have been a bit more realistic. A little bit of the urban green. Quite light in colour, quite light. Time to add a couple of drawings of those paintings on the wall, the prints above her head. Using my 55-degree Fude nib. And you can see the line is quite, I suppose, imprecise. But I really like that. I really like that about this particular type of pen. That's a bookcase beside the girl. But then we moved, my daughter and I took up a different position. So I had to start again. Here's a person sitting at a table and she's very silhouetted against the light. This is urban brown, and I know I'm going to have to use a couple of layers to darken up her hair against the light behind her. Again, that Fude pen is so useful for those expressive lines of her body. Little drop of urban red at the top of those lamps. They start red at the top and they go down through yellow and then to white. And you can see I've added a bit of urban yellow. Darkening up the jacket of the lady with a little bit of urban brown again. Urban yellow for the blonde lady and urban green for the sofa. Actually, that sofa was exactly urban green. That's exactly what colour it was, which was handy. Just adding a little bit of dark for the back of her hair. And I'm using my drawing skills, if you like, for the ceiling. What I really wanted to do was put in the people in the distance behind the 2 customers there. But I also wanted to draw the soup they were eating. So I couldn't have both really. And I'm just using all these colours. You can see that lovely mottled effect on the ceiling of the urban grey and the urban brown mixed together. And the whole thing takes up a very, very small amount of space with my little tiny box. Just softening that border between the urban red and the urban yellow for the ombre effect of the lamps. Oh look, my breakfast. And just swatching out the colours so you can see them really clearly. This is the urban yellow. This is the urban red. They are really nice to use, lovely flow. Remember with any watercolour, but particularly the granulating colours, if you want them to show themselves at their best, put the paint down and don't fiddle with it. Once it's down, try to resist the urge to fiddle with it, because you'll destroy the delicate surface of the pigments, and the beauty in the pigments is letting them do their own thing. I suppose you could say the Urban Grey is kind of like a blue, sort of. So that's your range, that's your 5 colours swatched out. I didn't really mix them much in swatches. I did during it. Oh, the bookcase is now done from face on, so that's why it looks like it's at a funny angle. It was originally lined up with the girl. So just using those 5 colours to fill in the wood of the bookcase and then all the little bits of the books. Now, the books were loads of different colours, and I just chose whatever colour approximated more or less the book that I was trying to paint at the time. And of course, I letting it dry and then putting in the dark shadow on the underside of the shelves, because they were in deep shadow. Of course, my family was with me by this stage, so kind of, it wasn't that I couldn't concentrate. They're fine, even though they were chatting away. It's brilliant, but I just sort of felt like it was coming to an end and I was taking the longest and so on, and they were sort of looking like they wanted to go home. So I began to cut corners and not wait for things to dry properly. But there you go, that's what urban sketching is all about. You're very often not on your own and not able to indulge yourself as much as you might like. A little bit of urban yellow and urban red mixed together for the wood. But I have to say now, I really loved this muted palette. I thought it was great. That's as far as I got, really. So there you are. There's my entire ensemble. And the bookcase and all the customers. Here are my 2 kids, Paddy and Liv. And me. There you go. There's the colours. And I think it's a fabulous palette. Very unusual. Not what I'm used to, not what you're used to seeing from me. But I do recommend it. Give yourself a treat. Go and get it.